So students, today we will learn a new chapter, which is again you will learn in second year chemistry also. So this is a chapter of biochemistry. So this is chemistry mixed with biology, you will see here. So this will be a very interesting chapter. So we are going to learn about biomolecules here. So name only says biomolecules means all the organic compounds present in the living organisms we call biomolecules. Okay, that is what they are saying. But what they are saying, scientists are saying all the carbon compounds present in the body of living organisms. But there are inorganic compounds also. Only carbon compounds means you are talking about organic chemistry, no, organic compounds. But there are inorganic compounds also in the body. Okay, so carbon compounds means we are talking about only organic chemistry, but means organic compounds, but our body contains inorganic compounds also. Okay, so in general we say study of carbon compounds. Okay, study of carbon compounds or carbon compounds present in the body we call biomolecules. Okay, biomolecules means they are the molecules present in the biological organisms, means living organisms, the compounds which make body of living organisms. Our body is formed by different types of chemicals. Okay, so all that chemicals we call biomolecules. At last, if I have to give proper definition as per textbook, okay, they are saying all the carbon compounds present in the body of living organisms they call biomolecules. Okay, so carbon compounds present in the body of living organisms they call biomolecules. So, but that is why they have given all the carbon compounds present in the body can be called as biomolecules. Why can be word is used? Because carbon compounds means we are talking about only organic compounds. But our body contains inorganic compounds also, not only organic compounds. Okay, so that means in general all the chemicals which forms the body of living organisms are biomolecules. Name only says the word bio means living organisms, molecules, the molecules which make up the body of living organisms, or the chemicals which forms the body of living organisms is called biomolecules. Okay, now we have a question whether what kind of chemicals are there in the human body, whether same chemicals are there in all the living organisms, like same chemicals are there in bacteria, plants, animals, okay, including human beings. Whether same chemical is there, same chemical composition is there in all the living organisms is a question. Okay, like you take extract means what all contents are there in the cell of or tissue of these organisms. Extract of plant, animals, microbes, microbial paste means after grinding microorganisms you get a paste, no? Like that. So microbial paste, whether their chemical composition is same or it is different. Whether same type of chemicals are there in plants, animals, microorganisms and all other living organisms is a question. Okay, almost all it is same, but there are differences. There are some chemicals present in some organisms which are not there in plants and animals. There are some chemicals present in the plants which are not there in animals and microbes, but most of the chemicals present in them is same. Okay, and one surprising fact you should note, when we compare all these chemicals present in plants, animals, microbes with the chemicals present in the earth crust, ಅಂದರೆ ಮಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಆ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಸೇಮಾ? ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಸೇಮ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ compare chemicals or chemical composition present in living organisms and earth crust. Is it same? Yes, it is same, but overall if you compare like what all chemicals are there in our body, in human body or in animals and plants, and comparing that chemicals present in the soil, in the earth crust, it is almost same. Then what is the difference? But difference is there with respect to quantity, in what quantity it is present. Same chemical is there in living organisms also, even in earth crust also, like hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, sodium, calcium, magnesium, silicon, all these are there in body of living organisms also, in our body also, even in the soil also. But percentage, quantity, in the earth crust quantity is more, in the body of living organisms quantity is less. That we will compare now. Okay, so that means quantity is different, no, when we compare. Otherwise chemicals present in the living organisms and chemicals present in the earth crust is almost same. So let us compare what all chemicals are there, or which all elements are there, elements of periodic table, which all elements are there in the organisms and in the earth crust. Okay, so I'll write percentage weight of elements. Okay, percentage weight of elements in earth crust and human body. Percentage weight of elements in, here it is earth's crust, in the soil, and in human body. We are finding out percentage weight of elements in earth crust and percentage weight of elements in human body. We will compare in what quantity it is present. Okay, hydrogen, hydrogen is there in the earth crust also, and it is there in the human body also. Hydrogen is 0.14 and 0.5 in human body. 0.14 in earth crust and 0.5 in human body. You see, same element is there. Hydrogen is there in the earth also, even in the human body also. Okay, definitely it should be there. Why it is there like that, that is not given in the book, but you should think. Okay, human brain can think in that way, that our body is made of what? It is made of chemicals. How we got those chemicals? From our diet. Diet means food what we take. What kind of food we take? Either we are vegetarians, so we take plants, or else we are non-vegetarians, we take plants and animals, then we are omnivorous. No? So whether we take plants, if we are taking vegetables, then vegetables are plants which get minerals from the earth, no? Earth crust. So that we eat, so that we get that minerals from the earth crust. If we are eating animals, animals also eat some plants or vegetation. Okay, so that vegetation contains minerals that will be passed to the animal, then that animal we eat, so that elements come to our body. So somehow animals or plants, they are dependent on minerals of the earth crust. So when we eat those plants or animals, then we get that minerals. That is how. But the quantity, you see, quantity of elements, it is different in earth crust and different in the human body. So you find the difference there. Hydrogen in the earth crust is just 0.14, but in human body it is 0.5. Okay, definitely it is more in the human body. Then carbon 0.03 and 18.5. Carbon C, hydrogen H. Okay, so 0.03 and 18.5 or 18.3. See, carbon present, carbon dioxide they are talking about. Carbon is present in the atmosphere as carbon dioxide, and some of these elements are gaseous, gas, some are solid. Carbon is present as carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, that is 0.03%, 0.03 percentage, and these are all percentage. Okay, I have written percentage weightage of elements, so these are all in percentage. 0.03%, here it is 18.5%. You know the reason why? Because we take oxygen and we produce or leave out carbon dioxide as a waste product, metabolic product. So we generate, so carbon dioxide will be more in the body. So you can see that. Then oxygen is 46.6 and 65. Oxygen is 46.6% here, and here it is 65.5%. Okay, oxygen. So we are oxygenated, we take more. This is what, not in the atmosphere, this is in the soil they are talking about. In the soil, not in the atmosphere. You see, percentage of weight in the earth crust, in the soil, and this is inside the human body. So definitely soil will not have more oxygen, human body will have more oxygen, because we take oxygen, we are aerobic, we require oxygen for survival, definitely. Okay, O. Then nitrogen. Nitrogen in the earth crust, it is very little or negligible quantity, but in human body it is 3.3%. Okay, 3.3% nitrogen is there. Sulfur, S. Sulfur is 0.03% in earth crust, and it is 0.3% in the human body. Okay, sodium, Na. In the earth crust it is 2.8, and in the human body it is 0.2. Okay, sodium in the earth crust it is more than in the human body, it is less, you can see. But same chemicals are there in earth crust and human body. Okay, we are comparing earth crust with human body. Then magnesium. Magnesium is 2.1, here it is 0.1. Okay, magnesium, Mg. Then silicon. In the earth crust it is negligible quantity, very little quantity, negligible quantity, and in the human body it is 27.7%. Okay, you can see there. Sorry, it should be, I think I wrote wrong. Here it should be reverse, because human body doesn't contain silicon. Silicon is not at all good for the body. So it should be 27.7% silicon should be there 27.7% silicon should be there in the earth crust, and in the human body very little, in the negligible quantity. So I got reversed in my mind. Okay, so this is in the earth crust it is 27.7%, in human body it is negligible quantity. You can see there, you can compare what kind of chemicals are there in the earth crust, and same type of chemical is there in human body also. Okay, so but the quantity is different. Quantity is different. Okay, so any way is there to know or to test what type of chemical is there in the human body and how to separate them. Okay, how to separate or how to analyze chemical composition of human body, or not only human body, animals. How to analyze means, I said or we say different type of chemicals are there in organisms, living organisms. How to analyze, I mean how to confirm, or how do you know that that type of chemical is there, and which type of chemicals present in the human body you call organic and which are called inorganic. If you call them organic and inorganic, how to separate organic from inorganic part of the body? Like for example, I'll remove liver from my body. Okay, liver contains organic and inorganic, both the components. Can we separate organic from inorganic? Like I'll give you a piece of plant tissue, okay, or leaf or plant tissue I'll give you. From that plant tissue, can you separate organic part and inorganic part separately? Organic compound separate, inorganic compound separate. Can you separate it? Yes, we can separate it. That method is only called analysis of chemical composition of organisms. Okay, whatever chemical compounds are there in the living organisms, that we are going to separate. Organic separate, inorganic separate. What are the methods? We will see now one by one. This is very interesting, and usually you do it in the chemistry. That's why I said this is very interesting chapter. Okay, we will see answer for how to analyze chemical composition. Okay, how to analyze chemical composition of what? Of living organism or a tissue of living organism. How to analyze, how to separate. Suppose one plant tissue is there, can you be able to separate organic compound and inorganic compound separately? That we are going to learn, how to analyze them. Okay, so some easy method is there. The first method is, a living tissue you have to take. Living tissue, whether it is plant tissue or animal tissue. That is, you take a piece of vegetable, any vegetable piece you take, or if you want plant source, or you take a piece of liver, that is a animal tissue. Whether it is plant tissue or animal tissue, both contains organic and inorganic compounds. Now our aim is to separate organic compounds and inorganic compounds. Okay, so how to do it? You have a piece of vegetable tissue or liver tissue. First, what you have to do is, you have to cut this tissue into pieces, very small pieces. Okay, you have to cut it with very small pieces, then grind it grind it with trichloroacetic acid. Trichloroacetic acid, that is Cl3CCOH. Cl3CCOOH, trichloroacetic acid. Okay, so you have to take trichloroacetic acid little and mix tissue. I repeat, vegetable piece or liver, piece of liver, any one you take, both you don't have to take. If you want to take plant tissue, you take plant tissue, that is vegetable piece mixed with trichloroacetic acid. If you want to test animal tissue, then piece of liver, then mix with trichloroacetic acid. Okay, that is vegetable or liver mixed with trichloroacetic acid. Then you should put them in a pestle and mortar. You know what is pestle and mortar? You know, that is used for grinding. That white color, you know, bowl like thing, that is and one more is there, that is for grinding, that is pestle and mortar. You put them in a pestle and mortar for grinding. Okay, grind it, grind the tissue. Okay, then use a cheesecloth, put that tissue in the cheesecloth and squeeze it, hind baking, squeeze it, like while making Srikhand they do, you know, like that. You have to squeeze it. Okay, a bowl like structure will be there at the bottom because tissue is there, and squeeze it. All the liquid content will be collected, and this liquid content is acid soluble. The watery content what you get, you know, after squeezing. Suppose this is a collector. Okay, I am squeezing and it will get collected here in this. If you add acid, it will be soluble. So this is acid soluble pool. Okay, so this is acid soluble pool, means acid soluble liquid. Okay, and this liquid contains organic compound. I'll write in different color. This contains organic compounds, that is carbon compounds will be there in this. Okay, how do you know that it is carbon compound? Because in chemistry class, especially next year, you are going to learn different separation techniques. Okay, and you will isolate and purify one compound. For example, one unknown compound will be given to you in second year. Okay, in one small 5 ml beaker, unknown compound they give. You don't know what chemical it is. Okay, that is called salt analysis in chemistry. You will learn next year. One unknown compound will be given to you in 5 ml beaker, very small 5 ml beaker. Then you have to identify what it is. You have to write the chemical name. How will you identify? First test what you do there is solubility test, whether it is that liquid is soluble. You take little quantity 1 ml in the test tube and you add water and see whether it is soluble in water. If it is not soluble, then you have to add acid. Whether it is acid soluble, then you should see base soluble. Okay, or it is fat soluble, you have to add oil and see whether it is soluble or not. Okay, then you have to add organic solvents like benzene, toluene and all, whether it is soluble or not. Depending on in what it is soluble, okay, your search becomes narrow. Means suppose there are 500 compounds in the chemistry lab. Out of that 500, one chemical is given to you. You have to identify what it is. They will not tell you what is that. Okay, for that chart will be given to you. You have to follow the chart and do the test, and you at last you will come to know what chemical it is. Based on what? Based on some separation technique. Separation technique means you have to separate that chemical from all other chemicals, all other 499 chemicals out of 500. How? First is solubility. See, all the 500 chemicals are not soluble in water. Water soluble compounds are, suppose only 20 chemicals are there. Okay, if your given compound is soluble in water, you come to conclusion that this is water soluble. Out of 500 chemicals present in the lab, only 20 chemicals are soluble in water. So your search is becoming narrow. No? From the broad search, it is becoming narrow. Means out of 500, now you have doubt on only 20. Okay. Then you will do particular test. Particular test means test for sulfur, test for chlorine. Okay. Test for magnesium. Like that, one by one test you do. Suppose if it shows, suppose that chemical shows positive test for magnesium, then the given compound is magnesium. Okay. In that cation, anion will be there. That is positive ion and negative ion. Both you have to combine. Suppose unknown compound given is MgSO4, magnesium sulfate. Okay. Then it should show cation, anion, what? Magnesium separately, sulfate separately. No, that is SO4 minus separately. It should show SO4 2 minus. No, that is what. So magnesium is one salt, that is anion or cation. Then sulfate is one. Then when you combine both, MgSO4 it becomes. So the given compound is magnesium sulfate. That is, at last you will come to conclusion. So like that, organic compounds in the chemistry lab, you have the method to separate. There are separation techniques so that you separate one type of chemical from other type of chemical. Like I told you, like if the given compound is magnesium sulfate, MgSO4, or the given compound is AgNO3, okay, or given compound is CaCl2, you will separate this compound from other compounds. No? So cation and anion you have to identify, one having plus and minus ions, then both combine and it becomes a salt. So you have separated one particular compound from all other compounds. Like you got CaCl2, so it is separated from MgSO4 and all, because it is not MgSO4, it is completely separate compound. So you have the, in chemistry you have the method to isolate and purify a compound. Separate from other compounds, isolate, remove that compound, then purify the compound. Means separate that compound from all other compounds, then isolate, remove that compound, then some unwanted waste will be there that you have to remove, then you get pure compound. Okay, so pure organic acids you will get. So organic compounds will be present in that liquid after squeezing. Then what will remain in the cheesecloth? Some solid material remains. No, that solid material, what is there? So you got two things here after separation. One is filtrate. Filtrate means after squeezing that liquid what is collected at the bottom, that is liquid, you know, that is a filtrate. It contains organic compound. Filtrate contains organic compound which is acid soluble. Then what remains in the cheesecloth? Like suppose this is a cheesecloth, you have squeezed, here some material is there inside, and at the bottom liquid is collected. Now this liquid is organic. This is what we call filtrate. What is this part called as? What remains inside the cloth? That is called retentate or residue. Retentate or residue. Retentate because what retains means what remains inside. Okay, this contains inorganic compound, but how to separate? How to separate them? It contains this, what is there inside the cheesecloth contains the solid material, that contains inorganic, but how to separate them from that material? Because it is a tissue now. How to separate from that tissue? If you have taken liver, then it's a liver tissue. How to separate inorganic compound? You have already separated organic because it's a liquid, but still that solid inside contains inorganic. How to separate them? Simple, one destructive test you have to do. You have to destroy the tissue. Some destructive test. What is that? You have to take this, what is there, solid material, in a crucible. Okay, you have to take that material in a crucible and heat it. You have to heat it till you get ash. Completely burn it. Okay, completely you should burn the tissue, then you will get ash. That ash contains inorganic compounds. That ash, what is there? That ash contains inorganic compound. Okay, so what all inorganic compounds will be there? Why it contains inorganic compounds? Because if any organic material is there, it is in the form of liquid, it will get evaporated. When you heat it, when you heat this, if any organic material is there, it will evaporate. Okay, evaporate, and only inorganic material remains as ash. Then you have to dry it. Okay, then you will get all the inorganic compounds from the ash. Okay, so what all inorganic compounds will be there? Like calcium, magnesium. Okay, calcium, magnesium, sulfate, phosphate. Etc. Calcium, magnesium, all that inorganic substance will be there. But still, this organic compound, what is there, the liquid, still that also contains little quantity of inorganic compounds, because you have just squeezed it. While squeezing, some inorganic material also will pass along with organic. So here also, in this organic material also, in that liquid, in the filtrate, some sulfate, phosphate, all that will be there. That is actually sulfate, phosphate and all is actually inorganic. It is mixed with organic. But here in the ash you don't get any organic, because all are evaporated. Only inorganic compound remains. That is how you have separated. You have separated organic compounds from inorganic compounds in a piece of living organism's tissue, whether it is part of plant tissue, vegetable, or piece of liver. Okay, so the compounds, what is separated, organic and inorganic compounds. Okay, after analysis means this organic, the filtrate what is there, and retentate what is there, that chemically if you separate them from other compounds, then isolate them or remove them and purify them, and you will come to know what kind of compound it is. Like, what kind of compounds will be there? Like hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, carbon, all that compounds will be there. Okay, so inorganic constituents present in the living tissues you will get. From the chemistry point of view, they will identify functional groups like aldehydes, ketones, aromatic compounds and all. But in biology, we will identify them as amino acids, fats, proteins, like that. Okay, so definitely you came to know now what I am going to tell next. So the biomolecules present in human body is amino acids, proteins, fats, that is fats or lipids, then enzymes. Okay, enzymes, all these are biomolecules which makes our body. Okay, name only says biomolecules. Bio means living. Okay, life, which forms our body. Our body is full of chemicals. What chemicals form our body? Okay, what chemicals make up our body? They are biomolecules. Okay, now we will learn first biomolecule in this compound, that is amino acids. I think we have to learn amino acids in next class because it's already 35 minutes. And one thing I should tell you, to record one 40 minutes class, okay, in this video camera, for recording it takes 40 minutes, but for uploading, if more than 40 minutes if it happens, then we have to join two parts. Like suppose if I record 50 minutes video, after 45 minutes it becomes naturally two videos. Okay, I mean video camera capacity is only like that. More than 45 minutes if I record any video, it becomes two videos. Okay, one video will have 45 minutes, other video will have just 5 minutes. But that just 5 minutes video is also important, because we have given conclusion and discussed last part of that video. So then we have to join it, okay, in a software, OpenShot software. Then for joining it, it takes 1.5 hours, 2 hours and all. So to record one video, then again uploading takes 1 hour, 1.5 hours, okay, if internet is slow. Then we have to send it to group. So this is just to record one 40 minutes video, it takes 3 to 4 hours. 3 to 4 hours it takes, okay. So you should know the effort from my side. So every day minimum 3 to 4 videos I record, upload, join, all that I do. Most of the time joining will not be done because I finish within the 40 minutes only, or 45 minutes maximum. If you find any 50 minutes video more than 45 minutes, that means it is joined. For joining it takes 1.5 hours, 2 hours in the software. Okay, so lot of work is there behind this. Okay, but every day I keep sending videos, you know, and whichever video I send, it will be recorded on the same day. Okay, same day I record. Like if you get this video, I have recorded today only. Okay, this is 1st May what I have recorded, and you will get on 1st May only. So lot of work is there behind this. Okay, even though it is holiday, nobody comes to college. Okay, only I will be there at college with recording the videos. Okay, late night also, and because I have to upload all that I have to do. So you have to understand the effort behind this. Okay, so anyway, keep watching my classes. Thank you. And whatever we do, that is for the welfare of the students only. Okay, if students understand the concept and they are happy, we are also happy. Okay, keep watching my classes. Thank you.